Yeah, I've just finished book 3.
Book 3 is called Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which will mean nothing to you unless you've read book 2. I'm not trying to sell more books, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling it like it is. Meaningless unless you've read 2.
Alfonso Cuarón is here. His 2001 Mexican road movie, Y Tu, Mama También, earned him the praise of critics and an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Screenplay. Following that success, he's taken the reins of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Here is the trailer for the film.
Turn to page 394.
What do you know about Sirius Black?
Only that he's escaped from Azkaban.
Black lead, you know who, to the Potters then.
He has escaped from Azkaban.
But he also killed one of their friends.
To find you.
Peter Pettigrew.
And kill me.
Sirius Black was and remains to this day.
Shut up!
Harry Potter's godfather.
Because when he does, I'm gonna be ready. When he does, I'm gonna kill him.
Was that something you had to grit your teeth to do, or did you say, no, I really want to make a Harry Potter movie?
Well, what happened is that I'd written Children of Men then. So right after Y Tu Mamá También, I wanted to do Children of Men, but they didn't want to make it. Eventually, one more time, I think that it's not that I do films very often, and I do pretty much films when I'm running out of money. So I was running out of money, and they sent me Harry Potter. Gael and Diego, they just were making fun of me all the time about me going to do Harry Potter. And I have to say, I joined the joke. I didn't know anything about Harry Potter. I have gone to see the first one, and I was not impressed, and so Guillermo del Toro called me and says, what's happening? He says, well, can you believe me? They offered me this Harry Potter thing. I was laughing. And then Guillermo says, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, they offered me Harry Potter. And how am I going to do Harry Potter? It's Harry Potter. He says, have you read the books? And I said, I saw the film, it's not my thing. And then he said, have you read the books? No, I have not read the books. And then he got so pissed off at me. Sorry for the words. He said, you fucking arrogant bastard. Go right now, buy the fucking books and call me back. So I went and read it, and actually I loved it. Then Guillermo gave me the best advice. He said, I think you have to do Harry Potter. And if you do it, completely serve the material. Be humble and just honor the material and serve the material. Don't try to do your stuff. If you honor and serve the material, you may do a very personal film. And I understood what Guillermo was talking about. When you're just serving honestly, just your personal stuff just comes through automatically. It was not about, this is what I want to do. It's about, this is what the material needs. It was not about, I'm going to make different from number 1 and number 2. It was about what is in the material. And that was all the way through, was like offering my services. And when you offer, it's very interesting how a lot of other creative doors get open. Yeah. Doors that you didn't know that they existed. The process starts from the standpoint, from the moment in which you, generally speaking, you do your film and just hope to get some audience. Here, you have the audience, and now you have to deliver them a film. The first thing she asked me is not to be literal with adaptation, but to be faithful to the spirit of the book. So that gives you a lot of space. At the same time, gives you a big responsibility, because you have to be faithful to the spirit, and who knows what that is. And then actually it was more about Steve Kloves, the screenwriter, and me pestering her for ideas and information than her messing with us. She's great. She understands the creative process. And if she has a comment, it's not about I like or dislike. It's more about that makes sense in this universe, or be careful because that is contradicting something that I'm setting up for the 6th book. When you're adapting, you have to look for a lot of shortcuts. Sure. What if we go from this and this character conveys the information that this other character used to convey in the book? And sometimes you say, oh, perfect. Sometimes you say, no, that character cannot do that. It's against, you're contradicting his character. So that's the kind of thing she does. In a way, for us, it was easy because what we tried to do is to detect the theme of the film that was about this kid finding his identity as a teenager, and this kid that is learning that both the fears and the power to fight them reside within.
He starts off almost in the same state of mind as he did in the second, of being very self-assured, but that gradually kind of vanishes as he finds out more things about his past that he didn't realise. And he starts to, as most teenagers do when they go through their teenage years, be incredibly unsure of himself, and he doesn't quite know how to act around a lot of people, I don't think, as well. First of all, I mean, he thinks somebody's actually trying to kill him. Over the first 2 films, he's kind of developed this image in his own mind of him being this kind of all-powerful kind of wizard. He's defeated Voldemort twice, and he's he's getting more confident about his powers. But then, at the beginning, he faints when he sees something called a Dementor. And so he loses all that confidence, and then he discovers that someone's out to kill him. And he's a lot angrier in this film, I think, as well, definitely.
You're not allowed to do magic outside school.
Yeah, try me.
But don't forget, there's been a progression through the films in the relationship. So that when you started out, Harry Potter was very much like Cinderella. Then he went to Hogwarts and came back with some magic. And in the second movie, you then got this thing of him having powers and putting the family under pressure. And then in this third film, apart from the terrible things that happened to Aunt Marge, the whole house shakes with fear because of what he might do.
Yeah.
As Harry Potter gets older, the Dursleys are more threatened. So they are turning from dominating him to being terrified of him. So the book goes onto the other foot.
So once that we went into that line, it was very easy to discriminate which of the multiple elements that play in the book, which ones would be relevant for this theme. And we concentrated one theme because what we wanted, it was a movie that was character-oriented with special effects, rather than to be a special effect film with a bunch of characters around.
I've read the books. I've always thought about Hermione before, but I'd never really gone into such detail about her. You see completely different sides to the characters. Harry, much more sensitive towards him. Your heart bleeds for him in some of it. I mean, you feel so bad for him. And Hermione, you kind of get past the whole nerd, bookworm type thing, and you see a different side to her as well. So I think this film's much more personal.
She gets chased by a werewolf. She's attacked by a tree. She's turning back in time. She's trying to get to all of her ridiculous quantities of lessons. She's doing everything.
She's rock and roll.
I never thought that the whole cat and the rat fight thing could again be something that just any excuse to make it out that they hate each other. Any excuse. They're always niggling each other and always having a go at each other and just about stupid things, and you just think, oh God, it's not worth it, just let it go. But they're just doing it because there's always this threat that they might actually like each other, and they don't like that at all.
Draco himself has matured slightly. He's still a very annoying, frustrating child. I think because of the scene in the second film where my dad and I are going in Borg and Burke's, which got cut out in the final cut, but I think it explains a lot why Draco is acting like this to people who have popularity or people who have better things than him as such. I think just during the films it's just going to open up more and more about how and why he's like this, and it's a good never-ending story, I think, about why Draco is like how he is.
You're very feisty in this film. I mean, wow, it's smack. The part with Draco, I mean, was that tough to do it, or was it been building up?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I would have done it for weeks on end. I would not have minded how many takes you did of that. I had such a great time.
Good punch.
Thanks.
Yeah, but how would Emma deal with a school bully?
Oh my God. Well, I've always wanted to punch a guy. I'd love it. I think it'd be great.
In the third book, Harry finds out about the kind of group of 4 people who are Peter Pettigrew, played by Timothy Spall, then there was Sirius Black, Professor Lupin, and James Potter, who's my dad. And basically, Lupin has grown up and he fits into the story in the way that he is the next Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at school. And it's about probably halfway through the film that Harry finds out that Lupin was really great friends with his dad and his mum. And so that's how he develops, and through Lupin, Harry finds out a lot of things about his parents, and Lupin's a very instrumental character in the film. Not only that, but also I think probably the key scenes, the key emotional scenes, which basically make up the heart of the film, seem to me to be between Harry and Lupin almost every time. So he's such an important character. I was thinking of him. And Mum. Seeing their faces. They were talking to me. Just talking. That's the memory I chose. I don't even know if it's real. But it's the best I have.
I'd only read a bit of the first book, and I just knew about all the media furore of it, but I'd not read books 2 or 3, I just read a bit of it, and I'd seen the films.
I'd read the first book. I got one up on Dave, you see. I'd finished the first book. And there were no pictures in it.
In general, what kind of attracted you to doing the film?
I was seen for the first film for Quirrell, which is why I read the first book.
Right.
And then when I saw it, and I know Ian Hart, who did play Quirrell, I know he had such a good time making it. I really like kids' films. I really enjoy being part of them. And since this is like the biggest of them all, I just thought what fun it'd be. And then met everyone involved, and I'm a fan of Alfonso Cuarón. And I'm not disappointed now here at the end of it. I've had a great time making it.
What about you, Gary? What did you like about particularly Sirius Black?
It was great to be really to play a good guy. I mean, he is a good guy. So, I mean, we think he's a bad guy,
yeah.
but you know, so that was, that I liked that dynamic, that twist at the end.
So I was so lucky to work with Gary Oldman. It was such a treat to work with him.
And it's a very understated performance by Gary Oldman.
He was actually, I remember he was struggling so much with it. And he's saying that, then he said, you know, I'm so used to do everything with masks, playing accents. And he says, this is me. So it's so difficult to play this character. And he really got into it. I was touched. Every time I was working with Gary, it was an honor.
You have some phenomenal co-stars in this film. I can't even believe
Gary Oldman.
First met him.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman's such an amazing actor, and when I first met him, I thought I was going to feel very intimidated by him because of all the films he's in, like Sid and Nancy and Leon and things. I thought I was going to be really scared, but he's actually a really cool guy and really nice and awesome, and so I really just felt completely relaxed around him.
Awesome, a great bass player. Really good bass player. He gave me a bass lesson. He's amazing, and we swapped tips on music, and I got him into a band called Audio Slave.
Cool.
So yeah.
I have to say, at first, I genuinely didn't know who he was, and that is terrible. I know it is horrendous, and people all over were going, "Oh, that's terrible!" But Dan almost took my head off when I said I didn't know him. I was like, "Okay, I'm really sorry," and he's like, "I can't believe it." Anyway, but working with him, even though I didn't know who he was, he is such a great actor.
The first person I remember being like in awe of when they came in was Gary.
I remember that. I remember you giving me the Gary chat. Right. Yeah, you were like, "Listen, Emma, you need to be cool because Gary Oldman, it's a really big deal, and you need to be cool." And I was like, "Okay."
Which was really a projection of my own fears, because I was like, "Dan, you need to be cool. This guy's a big deal."
What about the kids? What was it like working with them? Did they behave all right?
Yeah, they're great. Daniel's a hell of a nice boy. He's a really great guy. And he's got me into some very good music.
Yeah, I've been listening to some, yeah.
I was just still listening to the Beatles until I came here. But he's very passionate, but he's got great taste for a kid of his age.
He's very dedicated, serious about it, and focused. And
Michael, were you a Harry Potter fan before you got this role? How much did you know of the Potter phenomenon?
Not a lot. I'd seen the films, and I haven't read the other two books, read the third one, but I like them very much, yeah.
How you sort of approach this role?
I just did my own thing, you know. I mean, I do it with a slight Irish accent, which I think just seems to be right. I don't know why, because when I got on the set the first day, Alfonso, I said, I'll just do it. And he said, he came out and said, "What's that accent you're doing?" And I said, well, it's a bit of Irish, you know, because I am Irish and I feel sort of Irish, and this long beard and the long wig. So he said, "All right, leave it in." No one's ever mentioned it since.
Hagrid actually, you know, he takes a different turn in this. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, go on.
Because he, you know, he's vulnerable. He's very different. How was it getting into his head this time around?
Well, still the same guy, really. I mean, I think what was revealed really with old Buckbeak was really how emotionally involved he was in the animals. We all knew that he had a facility with him. He was quite fond of the little dragon and so forth. But
and he gets a promotion in this. That's pretty cool.
Professor, thank you. I think his teaching skills could be polished a little, but it was his first day.
Well, Harry got on well with him, though.
Yeah,
as he always
does.
does.
And Malfoy screwed up, of course, as usual.
Big surprise. But he gets his.
Yeah, he does. He gets it. He deserves it.
Who did you hear this from?
I'm not going to say. I've heard rumours.
I hope it wasn't Robbie Coltrane, like, because we dealt with him last week. We had to do a bit of slivering work with him. Oh, yeah.
The major difference you found working with someone like Alfonso, you know, his style or how he worked with you or the kids? What did you find that made?
Well, he's slightly crazier than Chris. Chris is crazy, but in a controlled way. All directors of major films, I think you have to be crazy even to think of taking it on, because it's 24 hours a day for 2 years, really. I mean, the actual filming may only take 6 months, but there's prep and then there's editing, there's all that stuff. It's a huge undertaking for anybody. Although Columbus is insane, he keeps it very much under wraps, whereas Cuarón, who's also insane, lets you know occasionally. That's about the main difference. And also, if he has one or two people who are also Mexican, and he speaks incredibly fast Spanish, so you can't hear the asides. I'm playing like bonus. I do speak Spanish, but not my vocabulary can't keep up with them at all. We've been very, very lucky with Columbus and Cuarón that people actually like making films and like to surround themselves with creative people and enjoy the process.
I was quite shocked they were going to bring a new director into it.
I suppose I was very nervous about working with a new director.
Because Chris had been doing like the first two.
He basically taught me everything I know.
And we'd really got used to him and really got on with him really well.
So I was nervous about working with someone new, but also really excited to, see different styles, his techniques, his different interpretation towards Harry Potter.
When we first met Alfonso, he was really sort of nice guy, really, really fun.
It's been great. He's very cool guy. He came with a lot of new ideas for all of us actually. And what was interesting, because people, was it kind of daunting having a new director? And the reason it wasn't was because we were given so much rehearsal time with him prior to the actual start of filming that we really got to know him at that time. We just chat and talk about the characters and just kind of hang out really.
I think we just got to know each other over 11 months and we just got to know each other better and better, and I think it was just kind of a bonding thing that happened over time, and it was great, and he made a fantastic film. Yeah. And we became really good friends. We kind of swapped tips on music and things.
When I met him, he was into punk rock music of the 70s. And I started telling him that he had old man's taste. Because because it's so old. Yeah. And I remember giving him the talking heads. He said, okay, you move to the 80s now.
Yeah. Because they are sort of early adolescents, it was much more joshy. It was much more kind of, he teased them an awful lot, wound them up and told them their shoes were hideous. And like them, like the way you do when you're that age,
I have to say now, I cannot go around him because he knows all the bands from the 60s to 2010, and knows who's the drummer, who's the producer, who's the singer. He has so much information. But same with music now, with cinema. He's just eating the world at this point. He's great, very rational, very intellectual, as opposed to Emma Watson, who is completely intuitive. With Dan, you have the big political arguments. With Emma, you talk about life.
He was very trusting. He wanted us to put a lot of ourselves and our thoughts into the character. So he told us, if there's anything wrong with the script that you've been given, if you don't feel that it's natural or that it works, then you just say and we can change it.
It gave all of us a lot of freedom.
Whenever I got stuck, I was always going to him, how should I do it? Just tell me what to do. And he'd go, no, you've got to do it yourself. It's got to come from you.
He just gave me a lot of space to think about Hermione and have fun with it, and that was really good.
Emma is just such an effortless actor. She prepares a lot. When you're doing the scenes, it's as if everything is just flowing out of her. The truth of the matter is that they are great actors.
My goodness, you guys must be like brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
No, it really is. They're like my brothers, basically.
Me and Emma's just completely like my sister.
We've got on really well because we see so much of each other. We get to know each other quite well.
Rupert's just such a great friend. We're all really, really good friends.
That was the coolest thing, and I was the lucky guy. I got these 3 kids that they've done already 2 Harry Potters. They knew by heart everything relating about their own characters and the universe around them. They knew all the technical aspects of doing a film with special effects. Plus, they were 13. So together to what we were talking about, it's very different to work with a kid when he's 11 than when he's 13. There is a bigger awareness of what they are doing when they are 13. Say, in 11 could be something fun and cool and let's make believe. These kids are 13 after working also. They've been very lucky to work with some of the best actors alive.
Turn to page 394.
They wanted to start taking more seriously their craft. They were willing then to explore emotional territories that they hadn't explored before. Again, because of the nature of the material.
Yeah, he basically asked us to write an essay about who we thought our characters were, why they did the things they do, their background, their feelings, their thoughts, how they've changed in the first year of Hogwarts, second year of Hogwarts, and now into the 3rd year.
Well, actually, I didn't. I never did this.
True to character, you didn't hand it your homework.
No, I didn't do it.
And why is that, Rupert?
I forgot to do it. But luckily, he didn't. didn't get angry, he just sort of thought that was quite like my character.
Rupert is Ron. Yeah, she's wrong 100%.
I felt really so pleased with myself because you hadn't handed yours in, and I felt so pleased. I've done it. So I had mine. The next day, Emma comes in with all 16 pages of hers.
It's frighteningly good casting, really, the way you've all reacted to this.
Well, we just got a chance to explore the character slightly more because they're growing up.
And I suppose they're more used to the acting now, aren't they? After 3 years.
Exactly. They put more time in than probably any of us, don't they?
Yeah.
In terms of hours. And when they're not acting, they're doing their school studies, so it's a long haul for them.
They're there all the time.
Their concentration's astonishing.
Interesting working with kids because a great deal of the time it's really 4 hours of acting over a 12-hour day because they have to go off to school. And it doesn't matter if you're on a roll and you're in a scene. Once the school time comes around, they've gone, you know?
I noticed that this change in how the children are dressed. They're much more relaxed, much more casual.
The whole thing, we wanted to bring a really raw naturalism to the kids.
Yeah.
And the theory behind was that the more naturalistic we were with the kids, with the performance, with the blocking, with the way they behave, the more magical the magic was going to be. The kids really felt comfortable with the clothes.
In the beginning, they just loved the idea that there was a bit of individualism there. It wasn't just all stamped out like the school uniform thing. Obviously, they got used to it, but they just...
With the school uniforms, for instance. So what we ask is, okay, guys, these are the uniforms. What would you do with them? And then first they were all tight. He says, yes, but if your parents were not around. And then they start doing weird things with ties or taking the shirts out. Some of the kids stocking everything and trying to be very neat. And I think that comes through in the film.
I'm in jeans. Yes, I'm in jeans. Like God, and not another one of those skirts.
The hairstyle was pretty much dictated by the kids. Obviously, we knew that Harry Potter had to have a little rebel hair that do a little longer here, but Dan was through the process of where we're doing different tests with the hair. I said, okay, yeah, it's more like that. Because we wanted to be something organic, the hair, the uniform, and the attitude of each one of the actors.
You certainly brought a magic to it that I think pushed the franchise up a notch, and I gather that J.K. Rowling says it's her favourite among the movies of her books.
Well, she's very kind. I had an opportunity I find myself suddenly engaged in a machinery that was pretty well oiled, with all these resources. I think that Chris Columbus did an amazing, I think he doesn't have enough credit, Chris Columbus, in the following things. In many ways, he really launched the franchise. And the most important thing is that he put together an amazing cast. And I was inheriting that amazing cast. And he had the amazing wisdom of getting Stuart Craig as a production designer. That I think that Stuart Craig is one of those great masters of production design. And so Stuart has created an amazing universe for the series. So I was inheriting something that was already having an amazing cast, you had an amazing universe, and it was a machine that it was already in motion. It's not that you were going to, when you start putting together your film, it's the whole struggle of, the whole setup of putting it together, even before you start prepping the film. You don't have to go through that.
Was it difficult having Chris, who directed the first two films, kind of literally over your shoulder as producer of the venture?
He was very respectful. At some point, we have two different schools of thought in terms of cinema. Chris is a filmmaker that shoots a lot, covers a lot, and then sorts things in editing. I tend to do the shots I need, and it's very fluid shots, no close-ups, very wide. Something we wanted to do is, I want to try to tell the movie with a style that was as fluid as possible. One shot connecting with another one, rather than working with coverage. I wanted to really, as if the camera comes, say, okay, give me your hand, and the camera just takes you through the whole ride, from the first frame to the last frame. At the beginning, I started shooting very wide. He was very concerned. He said, you don't have close-ups. You're not doing coverage. And what I did is I put together 10, 15 minutes of material. He saw them and says, well, I have nothing to say, it's great, just keep on going. Pretty much all the decisions, the visual decisions were made as we were shooting, not in the cutting room. We made most of those decisions either in the storyboard or when we blocked the scene with actors, we worked with the actors, and when we decided how to approach the scene. The core decision was to make Hogwarts, the context, a character. to make the school, everything, all the sets that you see, a living entity.
Because this is the third film in line, you know, with these two guys, they literally reinvented it. They found a new way to look at all the existing sets.
And he fought for Scotland. Scotland was
and we took it outside.
Okay, this is my next question. The idea of moving, it's the first time you've done it, moving the whole cast, the whole crew up to Scotland. What was the decision for? Why did you make that decision?
The thing is, I was not part of 1 and 2, so for me it was just the natural thing to do. There's so much stuff that takes place outdoors in this story. It was pretty much Stuart who said, we have to go to Scotland. He knew all these places. I mean, what do I know?
It doesn't matter how beautiful a set is.
It gave the film air.
It gives it space and scale. I mean, you can recreate a certain amount digitally, but there's nothing like the real thing.
It was decided that we would go to Scotland in May, because it's the month when the sun shines. They haven't had rain for the last 3,000 years, and it rained every day for 28 days.
And literally the set would, be washing out from under us. And at lunch, we'd have to have helicopter dropping gravel and have the crew put gravel back in underneath to keep the dirt from washing out from the set, and we'd bring everybody back up and try and work. I was concerned, about, what does this do to the look? Although Alfonso and Michael literally said that, they felt like it was the best look we could have actually come up with for the movie.
It was phenomenal. We had this soft, grey, overcast Scottish light, which dramatically for the story is brilliant. No, it was a nightmare getting it, but worth it.
I have to say too that I always imagined Harry starts off in London, near London in Surrey, but he ends up in Scotland. The haunted school, the school for wizards, I always imagined to be next to a loch, big Gothic thing that is set in all the mountains of Scotland. So that's never made clear in the book. That's just left open. But in my imagination, it's in Scotland.
But now you see the kids pretty much walking out of a castle on a mountain.
The other thing we tried to do was tie up the spaces. So you're in the school hospital, the infirmary, but you see through a corridor to the clock tower. Yeah. You follow that clock tower down to the courtyard below. That courtyard is connected via a bridge to the landscape.
Didn't J.K. Rowling actually draw you a little map of this?
On the first movie, there is a piece of paper.
This drawing is Jo Rowling's drawing that she executed in just a few minutes. As you see, it has all the principal ingredients. The Dark Forest is here, the Whomping Willow, the Quidditch pitch, Hogwarts Castle itself, the Black Lake is there, the Perimeter Road, Hogsmeade Village. She had a very, very exact and precise understanding of her world and her creation. She knew exactly the relationship between all the elements, so she was able to give it to us, and that became our Bible.
Do you want to move a bit closer?
Huh?
To the Shrieking Shack.
Actually, I'm fine here.
I think possibly the most challenging scene in it is, without doubt, the Shrieking Shack.
I think, first of all, we settled the exterior. Because we're in a remote mountainscape in Scotland on a snowy mountaintop, what looked very good in that situation was a very tall, vertical tower. So that was, I guess, the earliest decision, this kind of tall, vertical shape, really.
It was that, and you wanted to do everything wooden?
Yes. Unlike the rest of Hogwarts, which is stone, massive masonry, this was a rickety wooden structure. And then I guess the next step from there, I don't know if it was you or me, but we decided that if it was in this incredibly exposed situation, wouldn't it be great if it moved? If it did move, I mean, big time, didn't it? It was a
really, What did you see as the problems of this one? I mean, instantly you must have thought,
the fact that we film on very wide-angle lenses with a lot of a lot of moving cameras, so physically, where do I put the lights to illuminate it? But it's a great challenge, brilliant
but
challenge.
In the early stage, it was a conversation. The biggest conversation that these two guys have is about light sources.
It's supposed to be a place without light, wasn't it? It's completely boarded up. There is no natural light source. There's no electricity in this kind of
no candles. There's
what
nothing.
The hell do you do?
So
what do you do? Our conversation was.
Well, basically, it was very, very soft light. So it'll be quite sort of very moody, and with no apparent source because there are no windows. The only thing there is because it's such an old and decrepit building, because it's always moving all the time, Stuart made cracks between the boards. So it's almost as if the blinding light from the snow is coming through and just giving you a very soft light. It's also incredibly dusty.
All of the Shrieking Shack stuff that we did with him I was just blown away. I almost forgot what I was saying. I was like, oh yeah, that's my line.
All the stuff in the Shrieking Shack at the end, I feel like me, Rupert and Emma were just like watching tennis in that scene, just being like, this is acting, guys. This is what we all need to be working towards.
There was Tim Spall, the one and only Alan Rickman, David Thewlis, you, Emma, Rupert.
It's really nice of you to include me, Emma and Rupert, in that group. To watch you guys act, but also just watching you guys as people and just watching these like incredible actors who were just like, oh yeah, no, you're just people, and you'd have fun in between, and the whole process doesn't have to be painful. It can be intense, and you showed me the wonders of that sometimes as well, and that was really important.
I have never done a scene with such an amazing cast in my life. It's a very long scene. It's a scene in which there are a lot of twists inside the scene, and it was so much fun. It's an intense scene in which a lot of things are at stake.
No! I trusted you!
And you can see Rupert and Emma and Dan that they are completely committed to the scene. I love it. I have such a great memory of it.
Remus? Sirius? My old friend!
I think Alfonso Cuarón directed himself into a corner. The thing that I loved about Alfonso, that he felt that he didn't have to justify his position. He didn't have to stand there every time and say, I know it all. I've got it all planned. I know exactly what I'm doing at every given moment. And the great thing was we were like, I think 13 people in a room that was moving as well. It was on hydraulics. And we were in the scene, and he had some, Tim Spall, and he had the kids, and he had Alan Rickman, God bless him, David Thewlis. There were so many eye lines that by the end he didn't know if he was coming or going. and he just sort of he directed himself into a corner, and he said, hang on a minute, guys. So Ron's looking that way, and then she looks at him, but then they're looking at Sirius. But Sirius, so you're looking at him. So I've got to come over there, and then I've got to come back here, and I've got to, because of all this thing of crossing the line and the eye lines working out. It was, I loved him that day. You know what I mean? He's a really lovely man and a brilliant director, a real artist. He's the real McCoy, Alfonso. But God, I loved him that day because he just scratched his head and just said, I don't know what I'm doing. It's nice to hear sometimes. You know, Scabbers, the rat, Ron's rat, he has a break every 15 minutes.
Well, the rats have got a great union, I understand.
Every time, eventually I've got, why we got stopped now? They say he needs a rest because he's got to have a rest every 15 minutes. I said to the AD, I said, who's his agent? I want to put that in my contract. So you would have to stop for the kids, you'd have to stop for the animals. It was an interesting process.
Now you're the big prankster, but I
No, I'm
understand.
not, no.
Wait, but I understand. Yeah, this time that you were.
Yeah, I was the
pranked.
victim this time.
So what was the worst thing that happened to you?
They put a fart machine in one of the sleeping bags in the Great Hall, and I was sitting there, and it was scene that takes place at night, and it's a really calm scene. We'd done probably about 8 takes, and we were just going for the 9th one. And then it was Michael Gambon had the actual thing that operates it, and it was kind of under Alan Rickman's instruction. He did it just at the end of the take, and everyone in the Great Hall sat up and turned to me.
For in dreams, we enter a world that's entirely our own. You know, it's completely our own world, and we like to swim in the deepest waters and fly.
And it was me and Devon Murray who plays Seamus there, and me and Devon kind of instantly blamed each other. Then we actually took it out of the sleeping bag, and we were like, that'll be what that was then, okay. So yeah, that was probably the biggest one, but it wasn't actually from a kid. That was Alan Rickman's idea, evidently. That's what I heard, anyway.
Was it? Oh, name names.
And through the take, the beautiful thing of that take is how amazing Dan tried to stay in character.
Housekeeping. I'll come back later.
We were trying to downplay as much as, but the thing is so difficult in these films to downplay the visual effects. What we were trying is to integrate them as much as we could. It was all the time that approach, and with the big help of Michael Serasian, the cinematographer, that went into more gritty lighting into the whole thing. When you're doing these universes, you cannot escape visual effects.
But it's still so hard because there's just so much to think about. It's hard to act to a green screen.
Does it sort of ruin your enjoyment or heighten your enjoyment of the book?
I think for me it heightens it because it's like, oh my God, I'm actually going to get to do this, because you know there are kids all over the world dreaming of this stuff, and you're actually going to be able to do it. It's fantastic.
I was talking with Terry Gilliam the other day, and he was talking about King Kong, the original King Kong, the first King Kong, and he says that the beauty of that is that that you don't see something completely well realized. So your imagination has to play a role in what you're seeing. And that's what we're trying to do with the night bus. The night bus was an opportunity because we were fully aware that once that you go into the hippogriff, you have to, in this context, you have to be more photorealist. In the night bus, we were thinking about how would they do it in the 50s.
Take her away, Ian.
Yeah, take it away, Ernie. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
The night bus was particularly interesting for us to actually achieve a bus of such height. We cut a bus in half, lifted it, and then constructed the middle section. It was found that a normal London bus was going to be too slow for the sequence. So we obviously had to make a bus that could produce probably twice the speed.
The other thing is that every move that we made, it was like a circus moving, because there was this whole entourage driving all around London. Every time it goes around a corner and it rocks one way and then it rocks back the other, they wanted everything in the bus to be rocking, including the actors inside.
3, 2, 1, go.
We built an interior that was mounted on top of a hydraulically controlled motion base. This allows us to move the bus from side to side under controlled conditions. It just allows the unit to shoot inside and get the shots that you wouldn't be able to get out in the streets.
Ernie, little old lady at 12 o'clock.
This is meant to be Professor Lupin. He's turned into a werewolf. So we did the transformation sequence with prosthetic makeup effects on David Thewlis.
It was hard to do without the cliche teeth coming down, and so we concentrated on the eyes and the actual skin. Alfonso wanted him with 2 big scars down his face so that could follow on to the werewolf, so you could get the connection between the two of them.
I've never actually done anything with that scale of prosthetics before. To watch yourself transform over the space of 6 hours is just remarkably fascinating, and watch yourself become unrecognisable was exciting.
Action. Nails.
You go as far as you can using the actor because you want the performance. But there's a point where you're going to kill your actor. So obviously you then mutate away from the human and go into the virtual.
When we actually talked about the transformations, we had to consider how Lupin was going to transform into the werewolf.
Most of it was achieved inside the computer with his head turning into the werewolf. That in itself is just exciting, just because of the energy of the creature just kind of transforming through.
What was the most challenging? What was the most difficult for you to get into his head this time?
When Harry faints after seeing the Dementor for the first time and having to act, having just heard your mother's dying scream. Because I've never experienced anything like that, thank God, touch wood. So I kind of had to somehow find out how to do that, and hopefully I did it okay.
Therefore, I must warn each and every one of you to give them no reason to harm you. It is not in the nature of a Dementor to be forgiving.
Nightmare when I was in my teens, in which I saw hooded gliding figures. And they could almost be figments of your imagination, of a sort of a tortured imagination, as indeed they are. But do you know what I mean? They could be figments of a mentally ill mind. That was a whole thing that I was exploring in the book. Harry is particularly vulnerable to them, but he's got a much worse past. So he would be, it's not weakness, it's just the fact that he's faced me.
I think Alfonso came up with an amazing design for the Dementors because they truly are unlike anything you've ever seen, but they are a close cousin to maybe what we've all sort of perceived as death over the years, and that's very, very frightening.
So we wanted to do something that was abstract and metaphysical.
Alfonso had an idea that one of the ways to distinguish them was through their movement.
Dementors don't walk, they float. And so if they float, I guess it was a fairly natural step to say, okay, well, what would happen to the robes? Well, how would they move most effectively?
I was a little hesitant about CG, so I wanted to do everything old school. I wanted to do mirror tricks and I wanted to do puppets.
We just did the basics of some flying puppets with wind and what effect that had. And it just wasn't working at all. It wasn't anything like Alfonso was thinking.
Alfonso had this idea of putting this thing in the water and seeing how it moved.
There's a great puppeteer in San Francisco called Basil Twist, So he came here to London. What he does is he does puppeteer underwater, and we shot a couple of tests with the mentor floating, slow motion, and running the camera backwards. And it was really beautiful. The only problem was not practical.
We would never be able to do all of that animation within something like a tank. For what we wanted to achieve, it was just way too difficult to do.
We realized at the time that we'd have much more control over what these things look like, how they behaved, how they performed, if you put them in a CGI environment.
Pretty much anything we looked at, any films that may have something similar, really didn't kind of come close. So it was really more a matter of trial and error and imagination.
And the direction we got from Alfonso was that these guys are not in a hurry. They've got lots of time. There's no sense of urgency. So the character and the cloth had to emote that sort of feeling. So we went through quite a lot of iterations to give that sort of performance from the character and from the cloth.
ILM, through many, many tests, came up with a fabric look that was phenomenal.
Arresto momentum! Isn't he beautiful? Say hello to Buckbeak.
Hagrid, exactly what is that?
That run is a hippogriff.
A hippogriff, as described in the book, is a combination of several creatures. When you send off your artist to go and do conceptual designs, Alfonso gave them a guideline of what he was looking for, plus they had the description from the book.
That was actually a very interesting process to see how the conceptual artists work. I thought it was easier. And then I started going to the office of the designers, and I would see all these skeletons. They had skeletons of birds and skeletons of horses, and they were having meetings with physiologists and veterinarians, and says, what is that for? He says, well, I mean, if it was just a picture you draw, you can do whatever you want. The problem is that this is going to be a 3D character that is going to be moving. So we have to start from the bones.
We did motion tests. One of the first things we did was we went to the computer and said, okay, if it's a horse back end and a bird front legs, how does it move and how does it run and how does it fly?
I think it was very clear from the beginning that Alfonso had a very definite vision about how he wanted Buckbeak to be as a character, and our challenge was to interpret that. So we do a lot of tests before we actually start really working on the movie about what kind of animal is it? You know, is he excitable? Is he sad? Is he, you know, how do you show that in a shot?
I remember the very early animations, and it was like a puppy, just jumping, you know, very light and puppy and playful. He says, no, I mean, this is like a baby. Buckbeak is a grown-up, and also is sloppy.
I think he was once described as a sloppy teenager, and so we kind of did a lot of development in the early days to try and combine those characteristics. It was pretty tricky.
The amazing thing is it was really a long process of defining. Pretty much it was the same shot that we'll redo over and over, each time with a little different character. And there was a point in which they nailed it.
Ready and action!
Every hippogriff scene was storyboarded because the cost of each shot is not inconsiderable. Once the previs was finalized, then we shot those scenes.
When Dan has to interact with the hippogriff, we actually have props that can give him something to interact with. So for that scene, we actually had a beak on a stick that he could touch and caress, that we would then replace with the CG hippogriff. The complication of the flight was how to get Harry to interact and look like he was really riding the creature. And the way we went about that was we developed a motion rig that he would ride, which would actually have the animation driving it, so that his actions would also match the actions of the animation. And then we have the moments where he's flying over the castle, which is this huge scale model that was built and photographed at a studio. So there's all these different pieces, and part of our job is obviously to put them together in a way that makes it all believable.
Then it started becoming like an automatic thing. It was about suggesting fun stuff that he could be doing.
This particular Buckbeak is our number 3 Buckbeak, and he was designed to be in the backgrounds of shots where he's the reference for all the CG work, because of course, if it's a CG creature, it's not there, and the kids have nothing to perform against, and if you can put something like this there, then the kids know exactly what they're dealing with and can react to it.
The thing.
He was difficult because every material we used, we had to be sure could be matched by the CG guys. The manufacturing period was 4.5 months of solid work. the hippogriff. Skin is a tailored lycra, but over that is a feather skin. Each feather has been individually artworked by a team of people over months. And of course, everything we build is a prototype. So we don't know when we start exactly how we're going to build it. We have to try mocking things up, see how it works, hoping we reach the end of the road before it's time to shoot it. If a creature has to perform on location, you've got to figure out how you get him there, how he's going to behave within that environment. It's a nightmare because it's not something you can service. You can't run off to the nearest shop and buy a new part. It's incredibly labour-intensive, incredibly specialised work to make it move correctly.
Buckbeak was a phenomenal piece of design. I mean, how the hell those guys do it. I mean, it's got like 5,000 electric motors in it making it do. I mean, at times you'd look at it and it'd be moving its head and blinking. You think just any moment's going to stand up and fly off.
Here, Radio City Music Hall in New York City. It's a hot one today, but we're here for the world premiere of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Hormones are raging, so we can't wait to check out the movie. Come on, let's go. It is insane. I cannot believe the amount of people.
Crazy. There's a lot of people here.
What's the coolest part about being 13?
You get taller. Probably that, because I've been short for so long and now I'm growing, which is great, because I'm still really short for my year. I don't care, I'm growing, damn it.
I like to fly, that'd be worth it. Turn invisible. Invisibility. I'll do it right now and off I go. No, I'm joking.
And how are the fans? Are they different around the world? Do you find different?
They are kind of different, yeah. I think the main difference is how reserved people are about coming up and asking for autograph. I think the most reserved probably the Japanese, and then probably which is great. They're such a polite race. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And then the kind of least reserved is probably England and America, probably both of them. Yeah.
Is this experience? Are you now? It doesn't faze you anymore, or is it still overwhelming?
Is it still overwhelming? Yes, it is overwhelming. It is, yeah. I mean, getting out the car at Radio City the other day, and these screams going up, I thought George Clooney must have leapt out the trunk, you know? It's just been fantastic response, and everybody loved it yesterday. The kids it's really nice.
It's
really nice to see.
Yeah, this bit is the interviews and the premiere thing. Like, yeah, that's really weird, yeah.
It still kind of freaks you out? This is the third one now?
Definitely, yeah, it is. It's pretty scary, yeah, but it's amazing how big it really is, because when you see it in the premiere, there's so many people there. Yeah, it's really weird, and get used to it as well. It's really sort of strange.
It's still completely overwhelming, and I kind of see every film as a new film, a different film. I kind of see them really separately as well. So every time it's a new experience, new script, different actors. It's changing all the time, and it's great.
What are the things you'd like to be able to do that you can do in Harry Potter that you can't do in the real world?
I think I'd probably like to have the invisibility cloak, because then I could just sneak into so many rock concerts. It'd be great.
Was it easy, difficult?
It was seamless. It was such an easy experience. It was 2 sweeter years in my life. It was very sweet, but it was very long. I was never stressed. I was exhausted. I don't like cars, but if you like cars and driving, they gave you this amazing car to drive. Yeah. Luxurious, right. Huge machine, powerful, beautiful, great engine, and also all the luxurious radios and stuff. Right. They tell you you're going to drive between New York and LA. Yeah. We're going to clear the roads. Yeah. So have fun.
See what you can do.
There's only one catch: no pit stops. Okay, so it's so much fun the first 100 miles. Yeah. And then you want to pee. Yeah. And you can't until the end of this. So hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll pee. It was an amazing experience, I have to say. It was so much fun. It was like my kindergarten for visual effects. That was fantastic. But also what I like of the Harry Potter thing is that there's really a relationship to issues. And that's from when I started working with Steve Klopp. It says, yes, okay, this is the fantasy world, but I'm more interested about this transition between childhood into teenage years. I have just done a film that was the transition between teenage years into adulthood, and said this is interesting because it's 13. You know, that's that transition from childhood into the teenage years. So I was very interested about the themes in the film. I really believe that the only reason a filmmaker does a film is not for the end result, but for what you learn for the next film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
it's all building.
It's just building up. I have a very eclectic taste. I like from popcorn movies to Sukhorov and very obscure European films. So I'm trying to find my voice there. I know that I want to keep on gravitating in the Hollywood universe and doing smaller movies.
I think in this case, the book and the director were really made for each other. There's a unity about the film, there's a consistency about its tone and its feeling that's very, very enjoyable for me. And that's not a very easy thing for the author of the original material. And I'm completely happy, and what more can I say?
My highest ambition would be that long after everyone's forgotten that I was a single mother and that I was poor and that I wrote in cafes, people are still reading about Harry Potter. That's my highest ambition. I'm unashamed in wanting as many people as possible to read the books. I always wanted Harry to be wildly famous, because that to me was a mark that loads of people had enjoyed the book.
But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light.
I have to say that then when I saw the other ones, I was, wow, look, all of those ones, they have way more visual effects. You know, it says yes, but after number 3, we knew that the franchise was really going to work, so we inject more money. So what I had to say is that my Harry Potter is the one that would cost the least. Because they didn't know if there was going to be a franchise that was going to keep on going. But it's also the one that has earned the least.
Seriously?
Yeah, I should not say those things. That's
astonishing.
I mean, the least means like almost $1 billion. You know?
Embarrassing. Yes.
Yeah.